All right, let's dive in. Today, we're connecting the dots between a bizarre Cold War signal and the secret research of one of the most brilliant and mysterious inventors in history. But first, let me ask you something. Could a simple frequency, broadcast from thousands of miles away, actually change how you think or feel? According to our source material, this isn't science fiction. It's a story that started decades ago. So let's set the scene. It's the mid-1970s, right at the peak of the Cold War. And out of nowhere, this powerful, unknown signal just appears, and it seems to be coming from everywhere at once. The date is July 4th, 1976, America's 200th birthday. Suddenly, a strange, repetitive tapping sound starts messing with radio frequencies all over the planet. Ham radio operators were the first to notice it, and they gave it a nickname, the Russian woodpecker. But it wasn't just them. Soon it was interfering with everything from planes to ships. And look, this wasn't some fringe conspiracy theory. The New York Times was reporting on it just a few months in. The FCC even filed official complaints with Moscow. But, crickets. They used direction-finding gear to trace the signal straight to the Soviet Union, but nobody knew what it was for. So what was this thing? Well, it was a pulsed radio wave, ticking along at a very, very specific frequency. 10 times a second, 10 hertz. Now, that might just sound like a number, but it turns out to have this really strange biological meaning. You see, 10 hertz is right in the sweet spot of the human brain's alpha waves. Those electrical rhythms you have when you're calm, relaxed, maybe a little suggestible. And according to the source, that was no accident. The claim is the signal wasn't just jamming radios, it was broadcasting on a frequency that could talk directly to your nervous system. Okay, so a brain frequency weapon, how is that even possible? Well, to find the answer, the source material says we have to rewind clock. We have to go back more than 30 years before that signal ever went live, to the death of a certain eccentric genius. Nikola Tesla, you know the name. When he died in a hotel room in New York back in '43, the FBI immediately came in and seized everything. All his research, his notebooks, his diagrams. Officially, they said it was for national security. It was wartime. But the source claims that hidden in those papers were the keys to a whole new kind of physics. And this gets to the heart of it. Everything we think we know about physics is built on Einstein's big rule. Nothing, and I mean nothing, can go faster than the speed of light. But the source alleges that Tesla once sent a signal through the Earth itself that got there 27 times faster. If that's even remotely true, then our whole understanding of reality is just wrong. So the story presented here is pretty straightforward. Tesla dies, the FBI grabs his revolutionary notes. Then the claim is that somehow, and it's a big somehow, the Soviet Union gets a hold of this research. And they didn't just read it, they built it. And by 1976, they supposedly had these giant Tesla towers up and running, hidden from satellites, sending signals through the planet, not through the air. And that brings us to the really disturbing part of this whole thing. If the Soviets actually built this, what was it for? This wasn't for talking to submarines. According to the source, it was a weapon. To even wrap your head around the idea, you have to look at the work of this Yale professor, Dr. Jose Delgado. In this pretty famous experiment, he's standing in a bull ring, and a bull is charging right for him. He pushes a little button on a remote control, and the bull just stops cold. Its rage just vanishes. So how'd he do it? He had implanted a tiny little device he called a STIMO receiver right into the bull's brain. And get this wasn't some guy in a basement lab. His work was being paid for by the U.S. Office of Naval Research. He did similar things with human patients, finding he could trigger feelings like anxiety or even friendship with just the flip of a switch. So Delgado proved that, direct electrical stimulation can control the brain. But his way meant you had to have surgery. The truly terrifying question that the Soviet signal raised was, what if you could do the same thing from thousands of miles away, with no implants at all? Researchers who looked into the woodpecker signal, guys like Andrija Puharich, claimed this was exactly what it was designed for. They argued that if you broadcast at just the right frequency, you could entrain, or basically sync up, with human brainwaves on a mass scale. The claims got even wilder, suggesting these signals could interfere with our biology, mess with our nervous system, and maybe even manipulate our genes. Okay, so if we take the claims in the source material seriously for a minute, what does it all add up to? It means the whole idea of war has been completely turned on its head. We're talking about an unseen battlefield. A war fought not with soldiers and bombs, but with energy and frequency. A war where the target isn't a city or an army base, but the minds and bodies of an entire population, hit by a signal that doesn't care about borders because it travels right through the Earth. You've probably heard that famous quote from Nikola Tesla himself: "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." For most of us, it sounds inspiring, almost spiritual, right? A cool way to think about reality.
But after everything we've gone through today, our source material leaves us with one last, really chilling question. Was Tesla just being philosophical with that famous line? Or was he handing us the blueprint for a technology that's been silently running in the background for almost 50 years?